Good morning, good morning. Welcome to 4x8 Paper Stuff. I am painting. It is dark 30 in the morning. Here are my acrylic paints stashed at my desk. Um, and that piece of paper to the left, the pink and tan and green little rectangle, happened to be floating on my desk, literally, and I am replicating those shapes, sometimes the color, and just doodling. I say at the end a lot that this is my version of reworking stash that I have had for a long period of time and haven't done anything with. I rework it so as to maybe bring a spark of something, and that will allow me to use it. And I do these because, number one, I hoard paper. Number two, I enjoy this process. It's very meditative. It's dark 30 in the morning here, and it gives me calm. It gives me peace. It's therapy. It's therapy. It's therapy. And I just sit here and play and rework. And if a paper's been in my stash too long, it needs to be reworked rather than throw it away. I don't feel like or recycle it. I don't feel like anything should be. Every place has a home eventually. I am the home for homeless paper. And I love just trying different things. And this morning, that crazy piece of paper fell in my eyesight. And I'm like, okay, let's just see what you can do with those three shapes and where it leads you. Really, the magic is where it leads you. Because about this point, I started seeing tide pools. And with the shells on that piece of paper and the green murky water that's being added right there, possibly sea anemones, shadows from shells, it just, the magic started happening. That piece of paper is almost at least 7 years old, from an old Halloween zine that I did, and that was the last one left. And it's amazing. I will always know that underneath this piece of paper, no matter where it ends up, it started out as a Halloween zine that I was then going to fold up and turn into a little zine. And I sent those to a couple friends at least 7 years ago. And I've used parts of that paper because I couldn't get the copy machine to work the way I wanted it to work at a FedEx place or somewhere. And I ended up with like 7 or 8 sheets of this stuff. And I'm still reworking it. You can't throw it away. And that is the magic. It is the magic. You could be a Duke University yearbook paper that I found at a thrift store. That's what this is. And just, having a blast, making title pulls, making the inside of a shell, doing all kinds of stuff, approaching it with different effects, different techniques, different tools, different colors. It doesn't have to turn into anything today. I might rework it again next week. Who knows? Who knows? It just, and this needs to be done by me every couple days anymore, because it just brings me calm. It just brings me calm. And I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's the best. It's the best. Sometimes it goes someplace, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe not till next year. Who knows? Several hours later, I have some gorgeous paper. Oh, I love that one. And that one. I think they're all dry. I actually love that in a strange sort of way. Strange sort of way. Love this. Love that. This section is pretty darn good. Is that the only ones I did? I think so. I don't see any laying around. Oh wait, no, there's another one. This one's my favorite. Favorite. All right, let me move all this paint. It's still here. I think in the voiceover, because I sped this up really fast, because it's just me painting. But I think I say in the voiceover, it was turning into a moment. Because when I take this piece of paper and I recreate those 3 sections, see, I still have paint on me. 1, 2, 3. And on 1 or 2, I even added like a flower leaf or some kind of object right there. And this just was laying on top of the paper box on my left. And I'm like, okay, I'll go with that shape. But I would never have done this on my own. I would never have had this in my imagination anywhere. And as it started growing, I'm going to rip this. This is all kinds of different paper. This is a paper bag that I painted teas on about 3 weeks ago. This is, what is this? Oh, a photocopy that I did in the very, very beginning, no kidding, about 7 years ago. I made a Halloween zine. That was the last photocopy I had left of it. And I only photocopied it because I was at a Kinko's or FedEx paper shop or something like that. And I couldn't get I couldn't get it to work the way I wanted to. And it took me like 20 copies to get it to the right place on the machine. That was the last one. I've gradually, slowly but surely painted or done something with all of them. This one is a yearbook page from Duke University, and I can't remember the year of the yearbook. I think it's in the 60s that I got at a junkyard. This is, what do you call it? Painter's cover-up paper. I love this one. This is a piece of cardstock that I had painted on a while back, maybe 2 years ago. Have used some of it. Grid paper. And this is, I'm not even sure what this is. I think it's just some piece of mixed media. Oh, that I had already done a jelly plate from and never used it. This is the first one I did because here's the shapes. The green, the pink, the tan, which I didn't have tan. And then here's a semblance of leaf and stem. And then I replicated those shapes again on black with my same 3 warm colors, yellow, orange, and pink. But the paintbrush was dirty, had other stuff in it. It's on black paper. I seamed all 3 shapes together, and then I splattered white paint on it. And to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of paper out of this that I've had some for 7 or 8 years. I think I can use these now. They've been dwelling here, and I have been doing this a lot lately. Taking stuff that I keep pilfering through over and over and over, not wanting to get rid of it because everybody has their day in the sun. And lo and behold, this morning, the paintbrush took me over, and we got all that. We got this. And this is not me teaching because this is just what I like to do. This then, theoretically, can get used maybe on this journal, maybe not, but this is how my stash grows. There's just moments in time where I have to paint. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how many layers it has on it. It doesn't matter what kind of paper it is. It doesn't matter which stack I took it out of. It doesn't matter if I took it out of it doesn't matter if it's in a journal. It doesn't matter if it's loose. There are just moments when you have to paint. I do. Since this journey of journaling every day. And it comes back to help you. It doesn't bite you. It comes back to help you. So, will I use this today? Will I use this tomorrow? Will I ever use this in this journal? I don't know. That's not the point of it. The point is to continue to build a stash. And I have learned to rework my stash sometimes. When it gets kind of out of control, I rework it because it's got too much stuff in it that I keep pilfering through and not using. So I rework it. And voila. And that has helped me tremendously. That's not rocket science. That's not art degree saying. That's nothing. That's just me. That's what happens for me. So, here's my page from yesterday. Love that one. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I went through the rest of Ali Edwards' 2020s, and I'm not really sure I resonate with what she's doing for the rest, because the rest are kind of really involved and construction based. And I'm not sure if I want to, at least for me, I'm not sure if I want to do all that construction. And I only have 1, 2, 3, 4 more to go of the list that I made. This one today, I have shells as ornaments or money. In rebuilding, when your beaches build back up with shells, in the old days, indigenous people all around the world would get shells and trade those as money, as bartering. So I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity to get shells and barter with them, but it would be fun. Now, like my perfect thought process is, because this is already 6 by 8, to use this. However, I'm not so sure I want that black background. And then I really love this. Is this 6 by 8, or can we turn this into 6 by 8? Yes, we can. It is close enough. Because I think I will have already said this in the voiceover. This paper started looking like tide pools for me. And that kind of looks like, there's the shells that I painted 2 weeks ago on here, stenciled. And then these are like little tide pools. And there's black in here, like dark sections, and the blue of the water. Now this is very thin because it's the packing paper or the cover-up paper. Masking paper. But I do have cardstock. I might even have a piece up here, actually. Oh, I do. Okay. I'm going to glue this to this. This is very thin. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do after that. I have no clue. I remember, like as a kid, going to museums, and even one summer I did an Indian, the local Indians to me, indigenous tribe to me, where I grew up, were called Miwoks. And MIWOK on the northern, above San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge area and of California. And I went to a summer camp there, and seeing shells on clothing, stitched as adornment on clothing, is kind of what I was used to instead of the bartering. But I love that. And even with this white showing here, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't look out of place. But now, I'm not so sure what I want to do. At first I thought what's happening in my head, doing tiny little like football shaped shells around here as if it were beads on a bodice on a dress or a sleeve or a skirt trim. I might do that. And nothing else is coming, and I really I like how organically how this worked, because this was the paper, cover-up paper from Painter's aisle at Walmart or wherever, Lowe's. And then with Arteza markers, I drew shells and used a stencil and added more shells in warm colors. Took it back home, and then it made its way back here, and then I added Tide Pools to it, because this was like the fourth or so paper I started doing painting, and I started, thinking of Tide Pools. We don't have Tide Pools here. This is a totally, different kind of coastline than Northern California, obviously, and we just don't have the Tide Pools. But as a kid, camping and stuff, Bodega Bay, you could see tide pools all the time, and these would be sea anemones, and you'd stick your finger in them and they'd close up and squirt at you. And there might be little shells caught up in the tide pools, or maybe tiny little crabs, or other shells. That's what this brings me to, a tide pool. And so Indigenous people might go through the tide pools and look for shells for their ornaments. I'm really, really, really tempted to just write tide pools, ornaments, bartering, like currency. Currency would be a good word. And West Coast versus East Coast. That might be just what I do. Actually, I'm going for it. Tidal pools. Ornament on clothing. Currency. East Coast. West Coast. I really want to put one more right there, but I don't know what to say. East Coast, tidal pools, West Coast, ornaments on clothing, currency. Maybe just the word shells. Or maybe this one has the shells. These are not the exact shape, but we all know them as shells, right? Not crochet stitches or a chain, they're shells. Oh, it's almost like a heart. Oh, wow. I love that one. There's yellow on here from the warm color section, like sunlight shining in. Shadows from shells or sea anemones. Sea anemones, push on them and they squirt. Oh, love this. That's the organic touch that I strive for. It doesn't always happen, but I love it because the paper tells you what it wants to do, or the paintbrush tells you what it wants to do. And you can't get much better than that, if you ask me. That's how I like to work. Play. Search topics. And this white. I know the tide pools that I'm used to from when I was a kid were a lot of them were along, rocky, ragged coastlines, or like the jetties going out Bodega Bay, the jetties where you left the docks and went out to the ocean. There was tide pools in those rocks. And this is kind of like the cement or the granite rocks that were used to make the jetties. In my head, that was magical. I can't tell you how magical that was for me, the way this all came together. I only hope that you guys can achieve that too, because the magic of it. Yes, I've been using foundation pages from Ali Edwards. Yes, I've had a blast. Yes, I have conquered a lot of fear with a hybrid thought process doing all this. Yes, this is a topic about nothing but a love of shells and collecting shells and seeing shells and observing shells. But that is the real reason. The magic. That's the real reason. That's the real reason. That is the real reason. That makes your heart sing. And that's the real reason. You guys come second, but this is the first. This is the real reason. At 5 o'clock this morning when I was painting, just because I was awake, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to paint a couple pages and by the time I get ready to do whatever I'm going to do for the day here, it'll be dry. And you just pick up a piece of paper and it's like, wow. But I saw this happening. I felt this happening at 5 this morning when I was painting. I had no clue as to how I was going to work with it, if I was going to work with it. But I did start seeing tide pools and thinking about tide pools. And, Bodega Bay, the mornings and the afternoons that we sat out there freezing to death while my dad helped us try to catch crabs. And hiding from my sister one time, we all went and hid in the car and she was left at the jetty because she didn't want to sit with us at the time. So we all went and hid from her. That was torture. That was horrible. But we all still laughed about that. Even to the point where my mom and dad were very sick, we still laughed about it. It was complete and utter love. It just brings you back in time. Or can it toss you forward in time? I'm getting too metaphysical. I'm going to stop because that's really way out of my ballpark. This I can handle. This magic I can handle. Metaphysical, can't handle. But I do love that. I do love that. Maybe we need to do a metaphysical journal. Ooh, no, I don't know anything about metaphysical whatever. Anyhow, okay, thanks for watching. So much fun. So much fun. So much fun. It's not artistically anything. However, there's so much meaning, it becomes art, in my humble opinion. Thanks for watching. See you all tomorrow.